Hello. My name is Daniel, and this is the Engineering Success Podcast, episode 50. How you doing, people? You doing all right? Well, I hope you're doing all right. I am doing wonderful because the Rangers won the World Series. And again, this is an engineering career podcast, but one of my favorite things to do is share things about my life. And one of my favorite things about my life is that I have been a fan of the Texas Rangers baseball team basically my entire life. I have been a fan of the Texas Rangers basically my entire life. And I suffered massive heartbreak in 2011. One of the sadder moments of my 14-year-old life is the Rangers not winning the World Series 12 years ago. Yeah, 14 years old. So, yeah, I am absolutely ecstatic that the Rangers won the World Series. And to my friends in the audience that are all Astros fans, I am sorry, but your reign is coming to an end, friends. We're coming. We're building a dynasty. Okay, enough of that. Well, let's get into the podcast. First, I'd like to shout out our top tier supporters. Shout out, we have 2 top tier supporters now. Shout out to John Ott and Leroy Jenkins. Leroy Jenkins wants to be known as Leroy Jenkins. I don't know if the name's actually Leroy Jenkins or not. Sounds very familiar, but I doubt that the true Leroy Jenkins is supporting the podcast. But thank you, Leroy, for joining as a top tier supporter. You too can get a shout out at the beginning of every single episode of every single podcast for $10 a month. That is really just to support me and help me maintain my website, which is www.engringsuccess.com, engineeringsuccess.com, spelled with ENGRING, where you can email me at daniel@engringsuccess.com. And you can, if you have any questions or you want to show up on the podcast or you want to potentially sell me a service, I have a lot of people that are trying to sell me like TikTok generation services for the podcast. So if you want to try to sell me those services and generate a free sample for that, then you can do that as well. I have a couple people that have done that, but yeah, thank you for supporting me, John and Leroy, and I appreciate you guys. All right, let's get into the beginning of the podcast with this week in LinkedIn Lunatics. The first one is titled, "Some of these people are just brain damaged." This is a conversation on LinkedIn. To ensure we're on the right page, could you please share the package for this role? Sure. What is your current per month salary? I asked you for your package. What does my current salary have to do with this role? Because we offer hike on your current salary like any other company, we consider the industry standards like 20 to 30% hike on the current salary. So you're saying if my current salary is 10 million THB, it must be another currency, a year, you'll give me a 30% hike? Yeah. So this is a person that's trying to recruit a person for a new role. This is a recruiter, and they're trying to ask for their current salary so that way they can lowball them instead of giving them whatever the full salary is for their position. So, yep, that's not cool. That's one of those things that you get to kind of avoid whenever you're applying for jobs that are outside your company when you're applying outside. And uh, I've heard of other companies asking for salaries, and I always just respond with, what's the range for the position? And then I always aim high. I always, if I'm ever asked for a salary expectation, I just aim high, because the last thing you want to do is negotiate against yourself, because that's a poor place to negotiate from, and that's why some companies and some recruiters want you to negotiate from that place. So yeah, not very nice of that recruiter to do that. Very cool, uncool. And I'm battling a cat right now. Very uncool that recruiter to do that, and I uh, I don't like that at all. All right, here's another one about a crazy recruiter. As I'm dealing with a crazy cat on my lap, that those of you that are watching a video form can see his tail dancing around. Unhinged recruiter trying to give me major FOMO. Hey, so and so, forwarded your text message. Are you waiting for a counteroffer response from your boss? It's best that we're totally transparent with each other. I've already received a counteroffer last week. It's just a difficult situation to decide on right away. I apologize for the delay. That's a no-brainer, my friend. You accept and you'll get fired or quit within 12 months. 85% of people do if you've shown your hand to the current company. You might as well have quit already. They know you went out and interviewed while employed for them. No matter what they tell you, the trust is broken. You're a smart guy. You have to see it from their perspective. They're probably already talking to HR about activating a search to replace you. I've been doing this for 18 years. Every person who takes a counter comes back to us a few months later looking for work. It's career suicide. You know how to run a Google search about counter offers. I don't need to tell you all this. You already know blank values you at $87,000 guaranteed. You have to bring an offer from another company for your current company to reward you. They should have already done that, right? I haven't said a word to blank about this, and I won't even tell him you contemplated. You're still walking in fresh and ready to go. Untarnished reputation. The sky's the limit. You're marked for replacement now at your current shop. Every time you call in sick or miss a meeting or take a vacation day, they're wondering, is he interviewing again? Will he leave us? Should we invest more time and effort into him or someone else? You know how this plays out. Hey, I really appreciate all the help on this, but I will be staying at my current company. Maybe you're right, but I'm willing to take the chance to stay where I am for the moment being. I apologize for the indecision and wasting your time. Again, thank you and blank for helping me out. I hope it does not come back to bite me. All the best. So yeah, I mean, now those are some things that people say as truths. People say those as truths that never get a counter offer, or never take a counter offer, uh, never renege on an offer and go back to your current employer. Those are things that people say, and while I'd say that it could be true for a lot of people, I wouldn't say it's a universal truth. And it really kind of depends on how you know your company and what your relationship with your current employer is. And sometimes it's just worth it to get some leverage and get paid more. So, hey, I I can't say that it's a 100% truth, but this recruiter kind of went, I think, in my opinion, a little bit overboard with their comments. They could have communicated that a lot quicker. Seems like they were a little bit desperate to fill the role or really trying to, entice this person, and they came across pretty aggressive. So, yeah, you could communicate that a lot more succinctly than that. Let's see the top comments. This is a case of hard sell evolving into borderline psychotic fever pitch. Uh, my former manager, amazing guy, amazing manager, used to say, you can determine if a message or email comes from emotions by its length. It's quite weird to see such an emotional response from the recruiter. Yeah, yeah. So I mean, the recruiter doesn't necessarily represent the company unless they're maybe an employee of the company, but that's not a really good reflection on them. And I don't blame you for, after that, maybe being even more assured in your decision not to work for that company. All right. Well, that was this week in LinkedIn Lunatics. We're going to take a quick break while I banish my cat from the podcast recording studio, and we'll be right back. All right. And we are back, this time with your college questions. All right. Here we go. How many credit hours? Hi, guys. Currently considering doing an exchange semester in the US, UT Austin to be specific. I have to obtain 30 ECTS credits during the semester, which according to UT Austin should be equivalent to 15 credit hours. Ideally, I should have even more classes to cover all my required classes that I would have at my home university. However, everywhere I've looked online tells me that 12 credit hours is the norm. I'm asking here because it seems like most of you guys are in the US. For context, I am in electrical/automation engineering, and I will be doing my exchange during the fourth year of a 5-year master's. What do you guys think? Is 15 or even more credit hours too much? And the answer to that is no. 15 credit hours is considered a normal load in the US, and this is a good lesson for those of you that are maybe in high school and thinking about college, and or those of you that are exchange students and thinking about transferring to the US or taking classes in the US. 15 credit hours is normal. 15 credit hours is equivalent to 5 3 credit hour classes, and there might be a lab in there. If you're taking 15 credit hours and there's labs in there, then you might be taking 3 labs or 2 labs, depending on how many credit hours your labs are worth. Most of mine in college were worth 1 credit hour. And that's a pretty normal load. You should expect about 3 hours per credit hour outside of class is the standard. So you're spending 15 hours a class in a week, 15 hours a week in class, and then another 45 hours a week studying. throughout the week, and that's probably the maximum amount of time that you spend dedicated to school in the week. So 60 hours during the week dedicated to school. So that's pretty normal load. What I'd say is don't take more than 15 credit hours, especially if you're an exchange student in the US for a semester, because Austin's a really cool city. For those of you that don't know this, I lived in San Antonio for an extended period of time, which is close to Austin, and I took a lot of day trips around Austin, and there's a lot of really cool things to do around Austin. A lot of day trips. It's Texas Hill Country. You got Fredericksburg, you got the Pedernales Falls, you've got the various lakes, you've got Marble Falls, you've got really good barbecue, alcohol, you got distilleries, breweries. You got a lot of good things to do around Austin, even in Austin. So you want to have some time to go explore Austin and the rest of Texas on your weekends. You can go up to Dallas Fort Worth, which is pretty suburban, but maybe you want to go to Six Flags or go to a Mavericks game or a Cowboys game, and then you can go to Houston, you go to NASA and do Kemah and Galveston, or go to South Padre, or go down to San Antonio, see the Riverwalk. A lot of really cool things you can do on the weekends whenever you're based in Austin. So yeah, don't take more than 15 credit hours. Now, somebody in the comment section said this. They said that they're taking 21 credit hours this semester, and they're insane. Don't be like, that's not everybody. That's not the norm. Don't do what they're doing. 18 credit hours is about the max. That's what I call a full, a complete load. But uh, 15 credit hours is a normal load. That's more than enough credit hours for you to be taking, especially whenever you're abroad. I wouldn't try to stretch it too much whenever you're abroad, because you're here to have fun too, and you should have fun. All right, next one. Can he even do this? And it says that students with a straight average grade below 60 on the exams will receive an F in the course, regardless of the average grade in homework, quizzes, and project. So they have a normal grading scale that goes from A to D to F, which is below 60. And it says, this is the syllabus for my reinforced concrete design class. The class is notoriously known to be super difficult and resulted in a bunch of repeats at my university. The first exam was a disaster with a mean of 54, and he said out loud to us, if you made below a 35, your chances of passing this class is 0%. If you think, oh, I have the read test and test two, and you made the same test on test two, yep, 0. I don't care that y'all are seniors and almost there. So what's the point of breaking down the grade into groups if none of the factors besides exams matter? Well, yeah, he can do that. He can fail you unless there's a university policy that says that it says exam one's worth 15%, exam two worth 15%, exam three worth 15%, final exam worth 15%, homework worth 10%, quizzes worth 15%, projects worth 15%. But if you average below a 60 on the exams, you fail. Yeah, honestly, I've seen classes where the exams are worth like 30% each, and then you say the same thing. So you have to be able to pass your exams to pass the class. It's basically what he's saying. And honestly, it seems pretty reasonable to me. So yes, yes, he can do that. And it says if the project is not submitted, then the corresponding grade will also be an F. But you have to submit your project and you have to pass your exams. Feel like that's average a pass on your exams. I feel like that's a reasonable expectation for the class. And then you can get a little bit higher letter grade if you pass all your exams, and then your homework and your quizzes and project drive your grade up a little bit. Yeah, that yes, he can do that. Yes, professors can do that unless it's directly in conflict with your student policies at university, but it seems like it's not because they're allowed to do that. Let's read the comments. They say they do this at some courses in my university. If you have less than a certain grade at any test, you fail, even if your average grade is positive. So I guess they can. Okay, let's take a step back here. The course is a senior level class for civil engineering, for something civil engineers need to be competent at: reinforced concrete design. Because if they're not, bad things can happen. And you think this is too big of an ask? You knew going into this that this would be an A kicker. Guess what? So is engineering in real life, especially when lives depend on it. So yes, they can do this. And you get to retake. You know what happens to the folk in the Navy nuke school when they fail? They're done. Out, no retake. Enjoy your time in the fleet doing crap work. Not to be cruel, but time to buckle down. Wish you best of luck, but more so, I hope you can dig deep and find what you need to do this for yourself. If you fail, you fail. Yeah. No, I don't really see any problems with this. I mean, yeah, it's a little bit harsh, but you know what it is going into it, so you can you can succeed knowing the circumstances. I wouldn't I wouldn't get too burned up about it. All right, here we go. Oh, this is a doozy. Oh my goodness. All right, this one is titled Why Most Men Do Not Like Women in Engineering Roles. And I'm going to preface this by saying I'm not going to agree with any of the things that this man has to say. I am a recently retired from a 40-year engineering career in aerospace. Please don't hate on me. These are factual, real world examples of why most men, okay, speak for most men, avoid slash shun women in the field. One, most women are angry about something most of the time. Who wants to be around work with people like that? No, they're not. Okay, next one. Most men are leery slash downright afraid of being accused. The accusation is enough to derail a career, so most men avoid women in the field. Nope, I'm not really worried about being accused either. Accused of what? What kind of inappropriate things do you think that you do around women? Okay. Most women are not willing to learn or accept how projects or methods or systems are typically run or performed. Many are too ready to push a theory or a method they learned in a book or somewhere else and view the pushback as being caused by their gender or inexperience. They have no respect for the rules written in blood. In many cases, someone died to prove why things are done a certain way. You know what? Okay, so Mr. I only want the status quo. It's okay for people to ask questions. Okay, this guy sucks. Okay, next one. Women generally blame someone or something else for their failure. Many times it's just your own hubris slash inexperience that caused the failure. In this vein, women are many times promoted beyond their skill sets to positions of authority they are not prepared for. There's a reason that most leadership roles were assigned to those with at least 20 to 30 years of experience. Sounds like this person got promoted over by a much more qualified woman and he's bitter. Sounds like he spent 40 years of his career. He says 40-year engineering career in aerospace. Okay. Next one. Many women do not want to do the hard, nasty work required to gain the experience to be an effective engineer. What nasty work is required to gain the experience to be an effective engineer? New grads used to be cycled through the shop floor for at least 36 to 48 months before they got into it close to an engineering role. This yields book smart engineers who have little or no direct knowledge of the products or systems they're working on. Well, you know what? Some companies still have rotation programs and put people in the shop, but what? It just depends on the company you work for. All right, next one. I have worked with some excellent women in engineering back in the day. They worked hard and knew their shit. When some guy was rude to them, they were rude right back. Only the weak ones were into HR. Okay, man, it's about knowing your audience. You can banter with people. I banter with people all the time. I banter with men. I banter with women. I'm just not a weirdo that's just disrespectful to women. You know, if you respected people and you bantered with them, then they wouldn't run to HR. They'd understand that you're bantering with them. But these people know that you're a self-entitled prick, and that's why they run to HR to point out the fact that you have a habit of misogynistic behaviors. All right. Lastly, women have little or no respect to those who came before them, men or women. They think that they're the first one to have a thought or to have invented the technology. Okay, give us an example. Many of these things that are thought to be new are not. Engineering is a skill that requires many, many years of continuous effort and passion for lifelong learning. If you think it's 9 to 5 job, you're in the wrong field. And apparently, men are the only people that can have respect for the people that came before them. This is just your anecdotal opinion, you ancient person that I'm so glad that you're not in the industry anymore. All right, edit. I see I hit the raw nerve. Not my intent. I know most men in the field do not share these opinions while working. One key item I missed, but the comments reinforced is women think their feelings matter more than facts. The refrain that he made me feel X is a common complaint to HR that can get a man fired. I've never heard a man complain about their feelings or blame someone else for their feelings. Well, you know what, man? Just because you're not capable of telling people how they make you feel, it's it is perfectly reasonable for a person to feel the way they feel about something that you do. That's perfectly reasonable, and it's perfectly reasonable for them to tell people about it. Because if they told you people what you did and then tell them how that made them feel, if you can't receive that feedback, hey, this is what you said, and this is how you made me feel, and then grow as a person, then you are the problem. You are the problem. And if you can't get that through your skull, then you are a misogynist and you are not capable of relating to other people and you need to evaluate yourself. So, oh my goodness, I don't even know why I brought this one onto the podcast. This is just frustrating. It's absolutely frustrating. And he posted this in r/women engineers because he just really wanted a reaction. I mean, why else do you post this other than just a reaction? All right, top comment. Great. Always love to see a crappy old man leave the industry. Wow, you really went out of your way to join a woman subreddit and then thought people would be receptive to your whiny put downs? Refreshing to see another idiot leave the field to make way for new engineers. Yuck. If anything, the woman engineers I know put far more effort and consideration. They often have to in an attempt to be taken seriously. Exactly. Thick skins, emotionally intelligent, rational instead of devolving into shouting contests. They tend to focus on the problem/outcome, not finger pointing. I have worked with so many wonderful women engineers. Some of the best engineers I've worked with are women engineers. They tend to be far more adept at the subtle art of working with or around difficult people like you, uh, diverting the river instead of damming it, instead of butting heads. I'm definitely generalizing here, but not every woman in engineering matches that description. All groups have a distribution, but I've noticed this trend is anecdotally more common in comparison to my male colleagues. Yeah, I'm glad you retired, man. That's my experience too. I've had a mate. I'm so glad that I've had the managers that I've had, and I've had a lot of women managers, and they've been awesome. And to generalize about an entire gender like that, it's just and also to generalize that men think you just think that men think the way you think. Dumb, 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 dumb. 40-year career. At least you are able to figure out how to use Reddit. But my gosh, that just frustrates me. Can't believe that people like that existed in the industry. Well, there'll be less of them now. All right. Well, that was college questions. I guess that was should have been in the career sections. But let's move on to more career questions. All right. Next one is titled, how do I handle the nervousness on my first day at work out of grad school? And they go on to say, starting a new job tomorrow, I'm very nervous. Any suggestions and tips will be much appreciated. Also, are there any particular questions I have to ask on the first day? I am a semi introvert and self conscious about my talents, even though I've been good in academics. I'm aware that industry and practical experience must be different than academics knowledge and hence more nervous. What are the things I must do from day one? Helpful steps to stay on top of my game. TIA. I'd say just you're not going to be expected to do anything on your first day productive. You're going to be doing training, maybe HR stuff. Welcome, we're going to get walked around the office, introduced to people. Just do your best to repeat names whenever you get introduced to people. Try to remember names, and just kind of get a read for the situation. Who you can reach out to, who you can't reach out to, and just start taking notes. Start taking notes and keeping note of where things are, where to go for certain things like pieces of information, any important deadlines that are coming up, any important things to do with your benefits or your insurance and that kind of stuff. Just start taking notes. Your first day, there's not any really particular questions that you need to ask, really, other than maybe where's the bathroom. But just you should not be expected to lead the conversations and where you're going and what you're doing on your first day, especially if you're for entry level hire out of school. Uh, but what I'd say is just make sure you listen. And that's a good thing to do is listen and take notes and try to remember things. Don't put yourself in a situation where you're asking the same question over and over again. Just be diligent. Get your emails organized. Get your calendar organized, and just start organizing your work life and getting a cadence for showing up on time and getting to where you need to be and making sure that you show up to things when you're supposed to show up to things, and then the rest of it will kind of work it out as you learn the details of your role and as you learn the people you're going to work with. But just start it out right by remembering names, remembering where things are, taking good notes, and limiting the amount of times you have to ask the same questions over and over again. That's how you handle the nervousness on your first day at work out of grad school. Definitely don't do anything too crazy. All right, let's see what the comments say. Say good morning to the admin staff, do it on the first day, and do it every morning. Your first day is probably going to be getting your workstation set up, meeting coworkers, and getting to know the system. Over a period of time, you'll start getting ramped up. Just take it one day at a time at the start because the first couple of weeks drag by. Get a notebook of some sort. If it seems important, write it down. You'll thank yourself later when you don't have to go back and ask questions. You're a semi introvert? Don't worry. Most of us are. I'll talk as much as I need for my job, but I'm very quiet. Self conscious about your talents. Don't worry about this either. Seems like a lot of people in engineering have some sort of imposter syndrome. That bring up a really good point. Get to know your admin. That is something that I have really, I can't believe I didn't even mention that. That's something that I've really made sure to do in my career is that the admin over your department, over your building, they know everything. They know the processes. They know who is the person for this, who's the person for that. They know the person that knows the best lunch place around town. They know how to get your timesheets done. They know how a lot of the benefits work. They know when the holiday events are. They know who the talkative people are. Just talk to the admin. Tell them about what you're interested in. They likely know somebody that's interested in the same thing that you're interested in, and they'll connect you with them. And you'll be able to have a casual conversation related to your interests. But yeah, getting to know your admin is such a great piece of advice. Shout out to my favorite admins. Uh, we have Tiffany, who's my admin in San Antonio, and Margaret, who's my admin in Charlotte. And then shout out always to my first admin, Sylvia and Kathy. Thank you, all of you. My admins are absolutely awesome. They're just so fun to talk to. Talk to your admin when you come into work every single day. They can make your life so much easier if you have a good relationship with them. They usually go above and beyond for people that they can help out. So shout out to my admin, but that's a great piece of advice is get to know your administrative assistant, secretary, whatever they call them at your company. That's a great piece of advice. All right, next one is titled, I bragged at work and now regret it. How do I recover from this? So a few months ago, I found a flaw in the code and a senior member of the team told me it was not a big deal. I heard his explanation and agreed to it. Yesterday, another teammate found the same flaw, and I told him personally about what happened a few months ago. In the team meeting, my manager asked about it, and I was quick to once again mention how I had found it a few months back and was ignored. Manager joked about how everyone should always listen to me. I now realize that I might have spoken in a "I told you so" manner, and this might have left a bad impression on my teammates, who are all brilliant in their own right but humble. I deeply regret my behavior and can't stop thinking about it. How to make a situation better and improve my image in the team. You know what? This is a really common thing. It's one of those things where you people don't really think about you as much as you think about you. There's a really good phrase or saying for that. I'm gonna figure out what the phrase is. No, I don't have the ability to search that and talk at the same time. So I'm just gonna keep talking about this. But no, nobody else, you're much more worried about this than everybody else is. Everybody else probably completely forgot the situation happened. Likely, it's probably a figment of their not of their imagination, but they probably hardly remember it at all. Like they hardly remember it at all. It's probably completely washed their brain. If somebody told them about it, they'd be like, "Oh yeah, that happened," but they're probably not thinking about it. They probably forgot about it the minute after they left the meeting, most likely. So don't worry about it. But what your manager did is they kind of just joked about it, right? They joked about how they always should listen to you. And that's a good way to handle it. You know, that they did a good job. They just kind of played it off and they're like, "Oh, you're right. We should all listen to so and so." That's I was wrong. And that's they played it off and you shouldn't be worried about it. You I wouldn't have handled that situation any differently. I would be embarrassed about it too, just because I'm self-conscious. So I'm in the same boat as you. I get it. I totally understand why you're self-conscious about it, but don't be worried about it. It's not a big deal. If you're really worried about it, you can check back in with your manager and say, "Hey, I didn't mean to just jump in like that. I hope I didn't embarrass you, anything like that. I didn't mean to upstage you or try to make you look bad. I just wanted to make sure that it was the same thing that we had talked about." But if you want to next time, you could say, you could come hit them back with a joke. So the next time they say that, "Oh, next time they should always listen to Daniel," and say, "Yeah, now how about those raises?" Or, you could just hit them back with another zinger. So yeah, so everybody, or "Hey, Daniel, everybody should listen to Daniel." All right, everybody gets $1,000. That's my favorite one is just talking about, I just throw in $1,000 here, $1,000 there. That's one of my favorite zingers. Y'all can comment down in the comment section if you think that's a bad idea, but I have a fun time on it. But yeah, nobody really has the time to think about a comment or slip up that you make. Really, nobody's worried about it. I've been in presentations and I've come out of them and I'm like, oh my goodness, I stumbled on this word and I stumbled on that word, I stumbled on this word. And my coworker comes up to me afterwards and they're like, dude, you absolutely killed that. I'm like, well, what about this? What about that? I'm like, what do you mean? What about this? What about that? You absolutely killed it. You did a great job. I love that joke that you put in. Your graphic was great. Your presentation was good. You had a great demonstration of how we're going to hit margin on this project. Awesome. And nobody else really leans in on that one little imperfection. We lean so much harder in on our own imperfections than other people do. So I really wouldn't worry about it. You're fine. You're fine. All right. Next question is titled EIT Salary Feels Way Too Low. I have 2 years of internship experience and I'm graduating in December. I got my EIT back in July. I'm based in Southern California. The company I'm interviewing at next week had a preliminary phone call with me today. On the application, I put the higher range for the salary, 82,000, and they said that this role is typically starting at 68,000. The range was at 66 to 82. 68? That feels way too low. I was prepared to negotiate down to 80. I'm frustrated because I see others on this sub, no EIT, no experience, getting 76 starting. It's a mid-sized design company for water. Should I walk away from negotiations if they're not meeting my requirements? I feel like I have experience and my EIT should have a higher compensation. There's not many entry-level engineers that do nowadays. I've applied to a few more design firms. Any tips on negotiating the situation would be super helpful. I don't want to burn bridges, but I want to stand my ground and know my worth. I don't want to accept it right away, but either in case other offers come in. I don't want to accept it right away either in case other offers come in. Any tips on how to tell them I need more time? Okay, first of all, your internship experience, it's what gets you in the door, but it doesn't make you get paid more, really. It doesn't. It's not really that valuable in the sense of it should determine your compensation. There's not really many entry level engineers that have an EIT. Yeah, they do. They do. Most starting engineers get their EIT pretty soon after graduating from college. So, yeah. And though I'm surprised how you have your EIT before you graduated from college. I feel like I think you have to have a degree to get your EIT. But yeah, so that's just let's get you the job at, and 68 seems low, but I wouldn't say, I mean, that seems low for Southern California. That's what I got whenever I started in Texas 4 years ago. So that just it feels low in general. And here's the deal: if they're paying low, they're going to just deal with more turnover than other companies. That's the reality. So that's just the reality. If you pay crappy salaries, you have more turnover. That's just the reality. So what I'd say is if you don't have other job offers, take it. And then if you get a better one that pays better, then resign and take the better one. Because really, I mean, do you want to work for a company that pays that poorly in California for an extended period of time? Better than being homeless, better than being jobless, better than not having a salary. But I don't blame you for leaving, and they shouldn't blame you for leaving either, because it's not like they're investing that much into you anyways. And if they really valued the investment they put into you of hiring you and starting you and training you, then they'd pay you a little bit better. So yeah, I agree. Salary feels low, especially for Southern California, but your internship experience is not going to be able to help you negotiate it. Seems like that's just their starting point, but you can do better. All right. Well, guys, that will do it for this week's podcast. We're going to keep it nice and short. Appreciate your time. Appreciate you guys listening. Thanks for listening to the podcast. I will catch you guys next week. We have an interview coming up this Friday, and I should have it edited over the weekend and posted next week. But thank you guys for listening to the Engineering Success Podcast. As always, I'm your host, Daniel Dollinger, and I'll catch you in the next one. Thanks.
I miscommunicating. I just made a pilot, then they threw me on the stations. Nah, I'm not complaining. Nah, I'm not complaining. My thoughts get complicated. I cannot explain in lameness. Never losing focus because I ain't chasing payments. Still playing in the basement while I'm working on arrangements. They heard the kid in 50 countries. Thank God that's amazing. But I'd rather thank Spotify. They put me on the stage.